and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. It is another day, and it is another video coming your way. I've got to say, really happy, so happy to be back here regularly on the channel with all of you. And today, we're going to be talking transfers, and in particular, Hansi Flick's transfer targets this summer. What exactly should we expect from the summer transfer window? Who does Flick want in his squad? And even more importantly, maybe, who doesn't he want? How have the plans changed recently at Barça? We are going to be talking about plenty of players here today, so come on, and let's do this. And I do want to give an extra special super thanks shout out here to Kevin, to Alex, to Pedri's season. Let's hope there that it's going to be, and also to Jesse, a big supporter here on the channel, even if he's not in full agreement right now with the way that things have been handled of late. But a big thank you there to all of the super thanks coming in. It really does mean a lot. And I think before here today, we even get on to talk about the transfer targets, about the players, who's in, who's out. What we have to discuss is one of the most important elements of our entire transfer window, and that is returning to the one-for-one ruling in La Liga. Because that is what we're hearing right now in the media. It is imminent with Barça. They're about to return to the one-for-one rule, which is key. And it's been bolstered there by the Nike renewal that is just about to happen. That is days so close to happening now, which is looking, by the way, like an excellent renewal there with Nike. We're going to be talking more about that when it happens. There's a number of really good bonuses in there that will help Barça. And along with, finally, potentially getting the money that we are owed from Libero. All of that there will help Barça return to the one-for-one ruling. And remember, what that means is that Barça can spend every euro that it generates. So if you raise €1 either by revenue coming in or savings that you make from wages, you can then go out and spend that same euro. And that is a very different situation to the 1-for-4 rule, which we've operated on in previous transfer windows, whereby then, for every euro that we were allowed to spend, we had to generate four times the amount just to spend one, and you can see how that makes things tricky. You can see there why that makes dealings in the transfer window so difficult, because it meant that even when we made savings on wages, we weren't really seeing all of that saving. We weren't able to go ahead then and use that full amount to bring somebody in. And that was, of course, thanks to the outstanding rules and regulations brought in by La Liga and our good friend Javier Tebas. But okay, let's stay positive here. We are close to returning to the one-for-one rule. And straight away, guys, let me just say today, big news on Rafinha, because he's one player that Flick appears to have made up his mind on. He wants him in his team. He wants to keep Rafinha at Barça. He is firmly included him in his plans, and he believes that Rafinha could be a really key player in his system. And right now it's said in the media that doesn't guarantee that Rafinha will stay. You know, there's certainly some way to go this summer. There's interest in him, of course. He may be able to generate big money for the club, but as we heard from Laporta yesterday, Barca don't necessarily need a big sale. They don't absolutely have to make one, and I think here if Flick wants Rafinha, that will happen. He will stay at the club, and I'm actually quite excited there, really excited about the prospect of Rafinha in a Hansi Flick team, because I think he actually looks like a real Flick kind of winger, somebody there who could excel in his system, somebody who Flick could really get the best out of, because I still feel there's much more to come from Rafinha in terms of consistency, in terms of putting him in the right areas of the field to be effective, and I think we can see much more like what we did from him towards the end of the season, of course, when he had that real hot streak, when he looked confident, when he looked as though he was being well utilised. We can see more of that, and maybe that will come under Hansi Flick. However, guys, there has been plenty of change as well, though, in Barca's transfer plans since the departure of Xavi and the arrival of Flick recently. Because, of course, let's talk now about Guido Rodriguez, because don't forget, we had a verbal agreement with him. His contract was coming to an end at Real Betis this summer. We were looking at him on a free transfer there. Xavi was a big fan of the player in that pivot role. He actually spoke directly with Guido about joining the club, and it seemed as though it was a deal that was going to happen. But much like with Sergio Roberto's renewal, since Flick has arrived, it's all changed there. It's all slowed down. The deal right now is completely stalled, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen now. Flick doesn't seem to view Guido Rodriguez in the same way. Barca do not look as though they're going to proceed with the deal, and that's one here that's drastically changed. One signing that looked almost guaranteed that now probably won't happen, and he's not alone there, because I also want to talk here about Dani Olmo, because what we're hearing in the media right now, and the words the media have actually used to describe this, is that Dani Olmo is nowhere near Barca's list of transfer targets anymore. Now remember, he was somebody this summer that might have been a big signing. It would have taken a lot of money to bring him in, a significant outlay there, but apparently we were really keen on him, looking at him, talking with his agent, and you were thinking, okay, there's so many better ways to spend that money. Is this really the route that we should be going down? And again now, Flick has arrived. He's discarded, not even being discussed at the club. And that's why I think it was really important this summer, guys, to have that element of change. Because the path that we were going down, the way that we were just going along, the players that we were looking at, the squad that we were building, I wasn't sure about the direction. I didn't really like that, to be honest. And I am glad to see now that Flick has come in, like I say. He's straight away putting his stamp on things. He's certainly making sure the board are aware who he wants, who he doesn't want. And so far, I am certainly liking what I'm seeing and hearing. But where does that leave Xavi Simons, though, for example? Because he is actually a player there where maybe things haven't changed so drastically, because I would say right now there is still certainly interest in Barca in signing Xavi Simons on loan. They like the kind of deal that would be. They know the player very well, and apparently Simons would like to join Barca, we have heard. But what I would say about that, though, is today we've heard a rather negative update from Fabrizio Romano when it comes to Simons. It does not seem too positive there when it comes to actually getting him this summer, because Fabrizio says that internally Barca feel as though this deal is quite complicated now. It's quite difficult simply due to the sheer competition for Xavi Simons' signature. They feel as though there's so many clubs out there that have entered the race that really do want to sign him, including there Bayern Munich, for example, and of course it was the Bundesliga last season where Simons really excelled and he really enjoyed playing in, and Fabrizio says that Barca would have really preferred to do this deal more quietly, to sort of talk with him quite early on in the summer, quite hush-hush, but everything that's come out, there's lots of clubs now interested, and that has now made things difficult according to Romano. But I think that's even interesting in itself, guys, because remember, we're talking about a loan deal here. This is not about a big transfer fee. This is not about lots of clubs here bumping up that price tag, and if Simons really does want to join Barca, we've heard as well, he has the option to choose his club. So is there really going to be that difficulty with the number of clubs interested? Should it really complicate the deal that much? Or is Xavi Simons' will to join Barca not as strong as what we've heard? You know, have we not quite got that feeling from him? Or are we just not as desperate to bring him in now? Because I would still say as a loan deal, it's a deal that we can do. It's a deal that we should be capable of doing. But is the will there on Simons' side? Is the will there on Barca's side? That is what we're going to find out. And of course, guys, ahead of the summer transfer window, we discussed it plenty of times already. It is very, very clear that Hansi Flick, he wants a top defensive pivot in this team. That, by the way, is the #1 priority. Nothing is more important for Flick, nothing is more important for the club this summer, and you'd expect that the bulk of our transfer budget is going to be spent on that kind of player. And of course, we have heard plenty of links there to high-profile names like Joshua Kimmich, somebody, of course, that Flick knows very, very well, and it remains to be seen if we can go out and get somebody like that. But I thought it was an interesting link today in the media to Real Sociedad's Mikel Merino. Now, again, we don't know if this is going to be a main pivot option. Maybe it's just somebody there the club are looking at as a market opportunity, because with him, guys, he is entering the final year, actually, of his contract. His release clause, Sociedad, is 60 million euros, but apparently this summer, they may feel forced to sell him for around 20 million euros. Now, for me, this is somebody I've watched in La Liga for many, many seasons now at Sociedad, going under the radar always. He is such a tidy player. He's really, really impressive in that midfield role. And again, for 20 million, I would be excited by that personally. I think he's a player there that could add something to a Barcelona team and to a Flick system as well. So Merino there, apparently somebody that Barca are looking at now. It's a name that we're starting to hear more and more. We don't know if it would be the pivot option or an additional extra. Maybe somebody there in the role of Guido Rodriguez, instead of signing somebody on a free, maybe going out and getting more better quality for a bit of a higher price. But like I say, for somebody of his quality, he's still at a good age. He's got experience in La Liga and on the European stage too. 20 million or so also, if that does prove to be accurate, Merino is definitely one to keep an eye on, definitely a player there to watch out for, who could make a move to Barça. But I think what's also worth bearing in mind right now is that if there are any additional funds, you know, maybe we can get a few more deals over the line. You're looking at the Nike deal there, you're looking at the Libero deal. If these kinds of things come in and there is a window of opportunity to spend a little bit more, there seems to be a full agreement inside of the club to go for someone like Nico Williams on the wing. Apparently the club, looking at Nico there, they really like him. They have done for a while now. We all know about that. They've been really impressed with what he's doing at Athletic Club and also with the national team. He's got a great relationship with many of Barca's young, talented players. And after Flick's arrival, that feeling seems to be mutual. Flick would really like Nico in his team. He's somebody who he feels could also be very effective in his system. And remember, this is somebody in Flick here who likes to have out-and-out wingers out wide there, on both sides if possible, really offensive players, explosive players with speed and power and pace. And Nico, he certainly fits the bill on that, doesn't he? He has a €50 million clause right now at Athletic Club. And I thought it was really interesting yesterday that when we spoke about Laporta, the words that he used, the way that he described the upcoming summer, he did specifically mention a winger. You know, he spoke about a pivot, he spoke about bringing in somebody in defensive midfielder, and then he also went as far to say maybe a winger as well. So I feel as though this summer we're certainly looking at that pivot. It's going to be a top player. It needs to be somebody with real quality defensively, but we are also looking at left wing. That's a position at Barca that has been neglected now for many seasons. It's something that we need to address. This might be the summer for it, if we can get the money in, if we can actually get funds to play with, and it's going to be exciting times. It's going to be interesting to see how Flick shapes his squad, based of course around La Masia. Look into the academy whenever possible. That is what Laporta confirmed yesterday. But what do you make of it, guys? What is your feeling right now on the names that we're hearing linked with Barca? What do you also think about Flick turning away some names, you know, not signing Guido Rodriguez, not really feeling like he wants to bring in Dani Olmo, for instance? What do you make of those preferences and those choices? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. The early days here of Hansi Flick at Barca. I will catch you soon with lots more videos on the way. I thank you indeed for your great support as always. But until next time, guys, as always, Vizca, El Barça.